2022 meeting of the Montpelier Design Review Committee. We'll let members and staff introduce themselves.
Eric Gilbertson, member.
Benjamin Cheney, member.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Stephen Everett, member. And can we hear?
Liz is going off. She's going to try and log in over the phone.
Okay. So anyway, Liz is here remotely.
Hopefully.
Liz Pritchett. So we can go ahead and start the meeting by letting Meredith review the remote meeting procedures.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here. DJ and Erica, this is the share screen part is really more for people who are watching this meeting over ORCA Media because it's live streamed. There will be some information for you as well, but the actual what's on the screen isn't so much for you. Alrighty. So, for anyone that is viewing this meeting via ORCA Media, you can participate in tonight's Design Review Committee meeting via the Zoom platform. You can either paste this or type this web link into your browser, or you can call in using this phone number and this meeting ID. If you have any problems accessing the meeting, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-org. I will be monitoring my email throughout the meeting. For those attending via Zoom, turning your video on is optional. For everyone attending, please keep your microphone on mute if you're not speaking. This will reduce background noise. And please reserve the Zoom chat function for troubleshooting or logistics questions. Otherwise, if you have something to say and it's not your application, then you can raise your hand. This isn't really going to apply to our current applicants who are on. You'll be called forward when it's your time to talk about your application. We don't really have any members of the just general public on tonight. So I'm just going to say that in the event I get notice that the public is unable to access this meeting, it will need to be continued to a time and place certain. I'll now hand the meeting back over to the chair.
Unless anybody has anything to add at this point, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll second.
All in favor of the agenda, speak your names.
Eric.
Ben.
Stephen?
Martha. No Liz yet.
No word from Liz, but
Yeah.
we will move on. We can move on to the first application for 53 Memorial Drive. Owner Rexpo Development, applicant Ryan Coyne. Is Ryan here to speak or?
We have Erica Young who's here.
Oh,
So Erica,
okay.
if you could introduce yourself and your connection to the application, please.
Sure. Sorry. Hi, my name is Erica Young. I oversee the motor fuels department for Sandry Energy, which is a subdivision of Rexpo Development that owns this property.
And go ahead and describe the application for changing the sign zone.
So one of our initiatives this year, per the advisement of our insurance company, was to install LED signs where possible. We've had some issues with these old antiquated signs with numbers falling out, either landing on people's cars or employees. And I did hear the comment about gas prices changing daily. So that is an added benefit that we don't have to go out in the ice and the snow to do that. It's just become dangerous and the signs are old. So we've been trying to go through all of our properties and install these new LED signage where possible. So that's why we're submitting the application. At this point, it likely won't happen until after the first of the year, just because of having to order the equipment.
And how I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how do the dimensions of the proposed sign compare with the existing sign?
So it's the exact same sign. What we're doing is, Meredith, they had different standards, and so they had sharp edges. Their new image had square corners, and we were told that couldn't happen. So we ended up submitting a new rendering, and it's actually going to go into the exact same facing that's there. So the dimensions are the same. The frame is the same. It's just the LED insert that'll be put in instead.
Okay. And what is the difference between the day and night sign?
That's just their rendering. In some of them, like for diesel, the number colors are different. This one actually doesn't have that, but for diesel, it would actually be green and white. So they show you both renderings, but there's really no difference.
There's a note on the rendering that indicates that the final dimensions are to be determined by engineering. Are we pretty certain that these are the final dimensions?
Yes.
Okay.
And is there a place for 3 prices? I see that on the existing sign, there are 3 pricings and the proposed digital is 2. And it says
Correct.
regular Go Rewards and regular. Is there a separate diesel posting?
We don't have diesel at this facility, and the Sunoco standards is that you don't advertise the mid or the ultra anymore.
Okay. And on the rendering, it says night, and it looks like a different color.
I think they're just trying to depict the dark background. It looks
Okay.
black, but I think it's just meant to show that darker background to show how the LED will look against the nighttime.
Okay. But the color is just the dark blue.
Correct.
Okay. Any comments, questions from committee members?
Me.
And
Okay.
Liz, that's you back on, right?
Yes, I'm back on,
Awesome.
and I have no comments. I looked at the materials beforehand, so to me, I thought it looked okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. In that case, I can go through the criteria for signs in the design control district. The size, location, design, color, texture, lighting, and material of all exterior signs within the design review overlay district shall be compatible with the buildings and structures of the site and surrounding properties. That's acceptable. Sign design, color, and typography shall respect historic precedents where appropriate and shall be the appropriate scale for existing and new buildings. Acceptable. Sign support structure shall be compatible with the building architecture and must not be overly complex or dominant in and of themselves. Acceptable. And that's basically it. All in favor of the application as presented, speak your names.
Eric.
Ben.
Steve
This is
Liz.
Martha. Yes.
and Steve says yes as well.
Yes,
Is that-
yes,
okay.
it is.
Great.
So the vote has passed.
So Erica, because they didn't make any recommendations for changes to the sign, I'll take this recommendation form that Steve is filling out, and we should get the permit issued in the next couple of days. Normally we would mail that, but I think, what does Ryan have on here? Don't think we want to mail that to Greenfield, Massachusetts. We'll be in touch with Ryan about whether somebody from the gas station will come and pick it up. And the best way to get it, because there's going to be a notice that's going to need to be posted at the gas station for the permit.
Yeah, you can email Ryan. We'll actually have our motor fuels manager come by the office and pick it up so we can take care of that.
Perfect. Perfect. And we'll make sure to email around a scan of the permit so you guys have it for your records.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you very
Erica.
much.
You're welcome. And thank you for tweaking the framing issue.
Anything to make this happen. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
And we can move on to the next application for 8 State Street. Owner Vermont Rental Solutions, applicant DJ Barry, replacement of a wall sign.
So DJ, yep, there you go.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello from London.
I'm glad the remote system worked from there.
It is pretty amazing. Zoom has their stuff together.
Sort of.
So, hey, it's working right now. Don't jinx it.
Go ahead and describe your application.
Aeromed is the current occupant. They're going to be moving, and we will be. I'll be taking over the space in January, and I'm just looking to put the words and letters "World Cow" in the name of my brand, replacing it.
What is the nature of the business?
World Cow, it will be a gallery, an art gallery, and a shop, retail space.
Of what? Retail space.
So the art, it will be different artwork. It will feature a variety of artwork over time, and the shop will include apparel, gifts, things like that.
All of those things incorporating your art.
Yes, World Cow is my brand, and it's you've seen some of the World Cow paintings around Montpelier. There's a big one on what used to be Allen Lumber. So it'll be a lot of apparel, gifts. Actually, there's a lot of stores in Montpelier that currently carry my products, but now this will be our first brick and mortar for that. And then art is, I'm a street artist. That's what I'm doing here in London, is painting. And so it'll be, I'll be featuring artists from all over the world in this gallery. And I'll be also selling my own paintings.
Okay, sounds very interesting.
Regarding the sign itself, what was the basis for the height and thickness of the letters on the building?
So I thought that the cleanest look, after looking at all the other signs in Montpelier, was the traditional lettering seemed to be a common theme. And I tried to incorporate my art into the sign, but it just didn't look as good, and it wasn't as centered. And I thought that just the simple words of World Cow kind of fit the framing, the existing framing space, and kind of played off that better than trying to, kind of make it too much. So that to me, the rendering that I did seemed to just looked right for me.
This is Martha. I have no problem at all with the placement or the idea of, or the colors of what you have in mind, but it seems to me that the font is very heavy. Have you thought of doing something a little lighter?
So the font, interesting enough, is it's Cooper Black, and I deal with a lot of trademarks and copyrights, and you have to be very careful when using fonts. And that one is a completely free domain font to use commercially. So in terms of having it on my t-shirts, having it on the sign, it wasn't the original font I picked, but the original font I picked didn't have a commercial license attached to it. And Cooper Black is a very common font that's used, that I thought was as closest to the font I started using with all my t-shirts. I just think it is bold and looks, I think it's intriguing and will draw people in. And so it was my most desired font out of all of them.
Yeah, I understand your point.
I'm sorry, go ahead. The readability of the sign has as much to do with contrast as it does with the height and thickness of the letters. So if again, there's no issue with the font, but it's the heaviness of the font, as Martha had described. Um, and in many historic districts, a rule of thumb, and it's not in our regulations, but a rule of thumb is that the height of the letters is 1 inch for every 10 feet of visibility. And if you're looking at even 100 feet away, that's basically a 10-inch letter. Yours are 15 inches. And it's not so much the height, but the thickness of the letters. If the letters were thinner, you would show more dark background against the white letters, which would actually make it more readable. If you have any thoughts regarding that.
I do. I carefully took a synopsis of like rabble rouser, for example, and
That's
my
that's a bad example because
my,
that
well,
sign
my,
is
le-
way too
my
large for the.
my letters are a lot smaller than half the businesses in town, and I thought that I was doing a pretty good job of being considerate and moderate in that sense. I could have made them bigger to fill that space more. But I think it's really important. I think World Cow is going to be a destination and is going to, I fundraise for charities around the world, but with this particular business, I'm going to bring it back to Montpelier, and I'm going to bring it back to fundraising for charities all over central Vermont. And so I know that this is, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it might seem big, it is big. And if it feels a little too much, I really think that it's going to do a great service for the city, and that will be shown in time. And I don't know, I at this point in the game, I'm already producing a lot of clothing and trying to use this new font. It's a fun font, but it's not a big square signage or anything. I'm really trying to preserve that black background. Black and white is kind of the Holstein cow theme. And so I think it's really important that when you look at World Cow, you see black and white, not lots of black and little bits of white, an even sort of play there. So I am very passionate about the Cooper Black font.
It's not so much the font, it's the heaviness of the font. And if you look at the W or the R, for instance, there's very little black showing through the letter, and the letter becomes actually more readable with more black showing through the white lettering.
I would disagree.
It's not the font so much as the heaviness of the letters.
I feel that the font is very readable. I think that it's very clear that it says World Cow, and that it's very important to my brand that font is thick. I think that to use a thinner font would do an injustice to what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to be conservative on the lettering of my signage. I'm trying to make a statement and promote kindness on a global scale and put Vermont on the map for that. I think that everything from our message and street art around the world to our font that we use on our sign, it's important that it does make a statement, and that it does, that it's bold. And to reduce that would be, I really feel, an injustice.
Steve, can I step in for just a second?
Sure.
It's sort of
Go right ahead.
mediator a little bit. So DJ, they're not trying to be critical, just so you know. There are signage organizations, nationwide signage organizations that have a bunch of statistics out about readability of signs at a distance, and especially in moving vehicles and things, about how if the font is really big, it actually takes a brain longer to process the words. And so you don't actually get them processed till after you've gone past the store. So they're actually trying to help you. They're not trying to be like overly critical or change
I agree.
the context of it, right? They're trying to make sure that the sign is readable quickly enough and for people's brains to process it quickly enough so they actually come into your store. That's all. I'm not saying like how to say what. It's sounding like you're getting really concerned, and I'm just trying to make sure you understand where Steve and some of the other members are coming from. That's all.
Thank you, Meredith. And I completely appreciate and understand that. And, you know, as an artist, following my heart, and I looked at hundreds of fonts. So, you know, things that feel right, this font feels right. I know that this sign is not going to be the thing that's bringing people to Montpelier and to my business. This font and this sign is a very world cow feeling that I have as an artist. And, you know, I have no concern on a sign bringing traffic into my store. I really don't, because what we're doing at World Cow and what this brand is doing. This is the beginning of something very big, and I'm very excited about it. And, you know, I don't have concerns there, but what I do have concerns on is, you know, painting my cow and then somebody telling me to put a collar on it or a cowbell on it, or shrink it and make it look skinnier, or make my cow have a tail that's flashing a certain way. If I were to do what works for everyone, I just don't think I'd be where I am today if I didn't follow, you know, inside what I felt was right in my heart.
I think, DJ, that one of the things that we're coming from is that what we are looking at is the overall tone of the town itself, and whether or not this fits in with what we see in the rest of the town. That is one of my concerns.
Well, I think
The
that
heaviness of the font.
The heaviness of it.
Gotcha.
It's the heaviness of the font. If you look at the one of the criteria that's either acceptable or unacceptable for the application is the size of the sign, color, texture, contrast, and is it compatible with the building and surrounding properties? And the heaviness of the lettering and the sign is really not compatible if you look at adjacent properties. And again, the font is fine in a thinner lettering, possibly. But that particular sign is heavier than the signs adjacent to it. And it doesn't have anything to do, I mean, nobody's trying to change your art or the cow or anything in your other. I mean, there are people who have logos, but they modify their logos just for their sign, again, to make the sign readable and fitting in with the historic downtown.
So to that point, you know, the recent cannabis signs and Aeromed signs that don't even fit the frame that they're in. I took a poll at the size of lettering on all the businesses, and I was in the medium. And I'm feeling that this is not a good start to a relationship to my community. and I don't have to be in Montpelier. And I really, this is discouraging because this is, I can't make that font skinnier. I'm not gonna, like I can't put a Cooper Black and then it wouldn't be Cooper Black if I were to change those dimensions and shrink it. And, it would.
It's not about making the sign less wide or less tall as much as it's about making the letters show thinner so that there's more background showing and it actually becomes more readable. You can still maintain that height, even though it's taller than you really need it to be. You can still maintain that height. But if the letters were the same size but thinner, not as fat, it wouldn't look quite as heavy, but it would still be and actually be more readable.
Quick idea. I don't know if this is even possible.
I'm
Would it-
looking.
Would it be possible to do almost a thin black pinstripe inside?
I'm looking
To
at this
make it-
sign now, and I am absolutely shocked that somebody cannot read World Cow, that it's unreadable at any point on that street.
I don't think they're saying it's unreadable.
The sign next to me is unreadable. The Botanica, you have to be on that sidewalk to read that one. Yeah, I think that you guys have a problem with it being so bold. And we're different at World Cow, and that's what makes us so special. We don't fit the mold for everything. And I really passionately believe that if we tried to fit the mold for everything, how can we succeed? Only by being different is a way to really progress. And I'm just so disappointed that this was something I wouldn't imagine that my peers would give me a hard time on, especially if they knew what I was trying to do for the community. If you're trying to help me and get more people in my store, that's one thing. But yeah, I think that if we looked at statistics for signs, that works. It's like college, all right? College didn't work for me. I dropped out. It works for a lot of people. And if I wouldn't be where I was today, where I am today, if I graduated from college. I dropped out because I went on a different path and it didn't work for me. I get what you're saying, for how a thinner line could be, but I look at Rabble Rouser. I look at these other signs that are up now, that like the cannabis one that doesn't even fit the frame. And I think that I did a pretty darn good job making something fit that space. I have that. And yeah, I don't know what to say at this point, except that it sounds like
DJ, can you stop for just a second? Please, this is Meredith. So you've heard from 2 out of 5 DRC members. Can we maybe hear what the others have to say? And Liz, just so you know, on the phone, you can do *9 to mute and unmute if you need to, especially if you're having a little bit of a coughing fit.
Yeah, I thought you were muted and I realized you weren't.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, so *9 lets you mute and unmute.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Ben has something he wants to say. So hold on just a minute, DJ, okay?
Hi,
Okay.
DJ. I appreciate that you're willing to move a store here. I follow you on Instagram and I was just going through your website and I actually did create those Rabble Rouser signs as an aside. And looking through your website, I appreciate the font and the text on your website, especially, I guess I'm looking under, I'm on the Cows for a Cause page under World Cow, and the way that you use the text and the font on your website, I think is really quite elegant. And I have a lot of appreciation for that. I think it's similar to what Steve and Martha are speaking of, is what kind of font would really look nice on your store. That said, I also believe that it's your store and your choice to put whatever font you want up there because it's your idea. That said, I see a connection between the font on your website and the way that it's could be displayed on the store and feel like it would look nice for our town. But this is your choice.
Well, listen, I have plenty of time. And, you know, again, I'm over here in London doing this international festival. I am not opposed to making another rendering and playing around with it and just coming back to you, as long as I don't have to pay that $180 again.
No.
No. If you want to basically continue this meeting and come back with another.
The next meeting, if we want to just kind of prolong it, it gives me enough time to just dig in, because I do value all community input. And to what you were saying about the website, you know, that's probably all going away.
That makes sense.
At some point, because I do have to redo that, so it is outdated. But just because with the store, there's a whole new system that I'm implementing, so I might be redoing that website. But
It makes
yes,
sense to me that you would want the website to read through the sign, and so
I'm completely open to coming back home and just seeing what it would look like. You know what I mean? I have to do the Photoshop. I have to put the thin font on there. But it's very possible I could come back to the next meeting with the same exact font after I've done that and after I've tried hard to reduce it.
Yeah, and you can come back if you have, you know, choice 1 and 2 where you're like, I don't really prefer this one, but this is an option, or even just to show them some of the things you came up with that you didn't like as much. You can show that to them as well if you want. You know, you can.
Eric, I haven't spoken yet, which is unusual, but I don't think I'm listening to what people are saying. I don't think anybody is objecting to the font itself. I think they're objecting to the kind of heaviness of the letters themselves and the lack of open spaces in that font. And I think quite a small reduction in the thickness of the letters would make a difference. It would make it look better. It would make it more readable. And it doesn't really change your philosophical approach to it, that I can see.
The only issue is I would have to create another font. So just to let everybody know, there's no way you can change Cooper Black, that specific font that I picked, to be thinner. So I would actually have to completely change the font. That's just what it is. I'm open to that. I will do that when I get back to the States and we can regroup and come back again together.
I think that's a good idea.
That's a
You
great
have until
idea.
January before you occupy the property, so we've got some time to deal with it.
Yeah. So DJ, what I'll do is I'll put this as continued and we'll pencil you in for the next meeting. If something comes up and you for some reason can't attend the next meeting, which would be November 7th, then if we need to, we can move it forward from there. But the next meeting will be November 7th.
Thank you. Yes, I'll definitely be there.
Okay.
I can have this done by then. And you know, I will do my best to see if I can find another font, and if I can't, I will come back after trying. And I promise you that I will take everybody's input into full consideration and do some more renderings, and then I will send you those examples as well, so that we can all look at them together for that meeting.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. So send those to me, to Meredith, and I'll put those together in a updated packet for the committee.
Okay, thanks.
thank you very much.
Great.
And we appreciate your coming. And again, as Ben said, looking at at your website, all the lettering on the site itself, the lettering on your T-shirt, on some of the art, is very, very nice. And there's a lot of open space. And again, it's that lettering is very, very readable. And I hope you can find something similar you would be happy with over your store that matches some of your other work.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So the
Thanks
motion,
for being flexible. Appreciate it.
the motion is to table. All in favor of tabling and coming back?
Eric says yes.
Ben says yes.
Steve says yes.
Martha says yes.
Liz says yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll come together on the 7th.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Enjoy your time in London.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Tell Banksy I say hi.
I did see some Banksy work while I was here, and I'll tell the painting you said hi, but I don't know the man personally.
Of course not. That's what's so great about him.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
And has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from September the 6th and the 19th?
Motion to accept the minutes of September 6th as written.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the September the 6th? Well, we have a motion. Did anybody second that? I'll second it. All in favor of the September the 6th minutes, speak your names.
Eric's abstaining because
He wasn't there. Steve says yes,
Yes.
and Ben says yes. So those are approved. And how about the September the 19th?
Make the same motion to accept them as they're written. This is
Okay.
Martha.
And I'll second. So all in favor of the 19th, speak your names.
Eric says yes.
Martha.
Steve says yes.
I have to abstain. I wasn't there.
Liz?
Sorry. Yes, I say yes.
Okay.
No worries. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else to bring up at this point? Or do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Oh,
Whoops.
sorry. The planning commission will be taking up the new design guidelines on Monday, the 24th, for their first meeting on those. So if anybody wants to attend, that meeting starts at 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to.
And
I
I'll
will second that.
all in favor of adjourning, speak your names.
Eric says yes.
And
Steve says yes.
Liz, yes.
So meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Liz.